Welcome to episode 22 of SJHL Weekly. Again, do not adjust your television sets. I'm producer Clark from IKS Media, co-host of SJHL Insider if you watch on Thursdays. Jeremy Corrigan is out, I'm going to say day-to-day with an upper body injury. I don't know if he wants me to say that or not, but that's what I'm going to call it. So I'm here filling in, doing my best impression of him once again, and we're going to have a great show coming up. Later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Melfort Mustangs defenseman Leth Olafson. Can't wait for that one. Should be a great chat with the assistant captain there for the Mustangs. But just before we kick off the show, of course, we have to thank all of our sponsors. And my wonderful sponsor sheet somehow disappeared in this studio. So I'm just going to read it off my laptop. So excuse me while I do this. Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Canterra Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, SGEU, Direct West, Tourism Saskatchewan, SGI, Saskatchewan's Construction Safety Association, and Young's Equipment. Thank you to all our sponsors. This would not be possible, of course, without them. And it would also not be possible without the gentlemen to my left here today, Rory Mcgouran and Jamie Neugebauer. Gentlemen, welcome back to the studio. We didn't have a show last week, so it's good to see your smiling faces. Busy weekend, 11 games in 2 days, so we'll get to that. But Rory, how was your weekend?
Fantastic. You know, playoffs are coming up, so Jeremy's going to have to get into that playoff mentality. And if there's a little bit of a malaise or upper body injury, I think he's got to suck it up coming up in the next
load management,
shows, right?
Load management.
Is that
today.
what this week is for?
Maybe.
Load management because playoffs are coming up?
Yeah.
But yeah, only 2 teams are under the 50 games played plateau, so we got 2 weeks left of SJHL hockey. Still a lot of anomalies where pieces can fall and playoff matchups can shift. I'm sure we'll look at that soon, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. There is some juicy matchups in the top 8 teams right now. I'm not counting out Notre Dame as well. They still got a fighting shot.
It's still there. And Jamie, just before I get to you, I said it on SJHL Insider last week. The storylines like a month ago were awesome, and they've only gotten better since then. Like I know things are kind of tightening up, but man, it's just getting crazy. Jamie, you had a busy week. How was your weekend, though?
Yeah, it's always good to be on the road, and I'm very excited to announce that I was right. Kean Bell did get to 50 before the end of the month. I like being right, and I said to Kean specifically, thank you for making me look smart.
Yep.
Of course, you need to score 5 against Yorkton to do it.
My math was on track, unless Kean Bell goes superhuman and scores 5 in a game. Of course, he does that.
I'm not chirping you, Rory. I just had a gut feeling.
Yeah, it was a good call.
And there you go.
There you go.
He's the best goal scorer in the SJHL. That's
well, we'll talk about Kean a little bit more as well in just a little while.
I'm just excited to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look back, courtesy of our friends at Sask Lotteries. At Friday and Saturday's busy schedules, 5 games on Friday, 6 on Saturday. So let's have a look at those games and the results there. Nipawin sneaks by Humboldt, Rory, 4-3. We'll talk about that in a minute here.
Great game.
Yeah, it was. It sounded like it. Battleford's beat up Melville 9-2. Flin Flon, again, a great game against Weyburn, and there's a home and home here, so we'll talk about this on Saturday as well, but they beat Weyburn 4-3. Kindersley, Jamie, we'll talk about this in a minute as well, beat Notre Dame 6-2. They're on a heater, I have to admit. And L'Orange beat Melfort 4-2. They doubled them up on Friday. On Saturday, a couple of familiar matchups, but Estevan beat Yorkton 4-2. I believe that was the game where they may have clinched playoffs. With that win, Battleford's beat Notre Dame 6-2 that night. Flin Flon beat Weyburn 5-3 to sweep, I guess, the home and home, or not the home and home, the 2-game set over the weekend. Humboldt beat Nipawin 4-2, so a little bit of revenge. Kindersley doubled up on Melville 4-2. Again, they're on a heater, and Melfort beat L'Orange 4-3 to split the home and home. Gentlemen, Melfort L'Orange. Rory, I'm going to start there.
Sure.
What a great series over the weekend, home and home. And on top of that, it's looking like this is going to be round 1. And we'll get to that in a minute as well. We'll look at the standings. But what did you take away from that matchup this weekend?
Well, first off, I kind of liked how a lot of these games over the weekend were kind of playoff maybe previews. Humboldt and Nipawin, Flin Flon, Weyburn's a possibility. And the most certain one that's looking like is the Melfort Mustangs and L'Orange Ice Wolves. We've talked week on and week off about how great these teams are at home. Right now, they're in a battle for who's going to get that home ice advantage. One's going to be 4th and one's going to be 5th, it's looking like. And we know how huge that'll be come playoff time in the Mel and the Northern Lights Palace and L'Orange and Melfort, respectively. But this weekend, both road teams won. So that's the kind of thing that shocked me. Topher Chirico was awesome on the road in the first game for L'Orange, stopping 49 of 51, I do believe it was. And then just had a lot of different guys step up. A pair of goals to open the game for Clark Huxley of the Mustangs. Duguay gets it going. Ethan Strick with 3 goals in that series. But it just shocked me that both road teams won on these 2 teams that really are two of the toughest to beat at home.
Absolutely. And again, Jamie, as we look ahead, and we'll get to the standings a little later on, don't bring them up yet, but this intensity in this matchup over the weekend, you have to admit that was palpable.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we do talk about these two teams as some of the most dynamite home teams in the league, but I did also look it up. 10 of the 12 teams in our league are over 500 on the road.
Home cooking works.
Home is huge.
Yeah.
Except for this weekend, for whatever reason. I think Trevor Blevins, I spoke to him a little bit yesterday, in fact, and I was talking to him about this matchup that they had. And, he mentioned that he was actually just straight up unhappy with the way his team came out in Melfort. And I think a big part of that, too, is the presence of Ethan Strick. We've talked about him. He's been back 3 games since his suspension, and he's been absolutely unstoppable over that time. Didn't miss a beat. Sometimes you expect a guy to miss a beat when he comes back from a suspension, a little bit leggy, maybe a little bit rusty, but no rust for Ethan Strick. He was absolute dynamite for L'Orange. And then, up in the Mel, Trevor Blevins' team, they've kind of been, we have a down game and then we respond, and we have a down game and we respond. That's kind of been Melfort all year. If you catch them on a game that they respond, then you're in big trouble. And I don't care who you are in this league. The Battleford's North Stars found that out this year, right? So, somebody predict this series right now, because if you could, who knows what's going to happen in that series? It's going to be nuts. It's going to be awesome.
I got a little question to pose to both of you guys. We know a lot of these teams in the SJHL have really good goaltending tandems. 1A, 1B punch. Fenn
I see
and
where you're going.
right? Chirico and Smith. These are teams that are probably going to have to make a decision come playoff time. I think when you're the L'Orange Ice Wolves, Smith has the upper hand. But if you're Trevor Blevins, who are you rolling with right now? Or are you in playoff games taking your goaltender and still going 1A, 1B? I just don't see that happening. But in your opinion, who are they going with?
It's a great question. My hunch, Rory, would be Joel Favreau, because, and I've mentioned this to a number of people lately, I just have not seen an 18-year-old and younger really carry the water for a team that expects to go far. So Joel Favreau has not played as many games as the Melfort Mustangs would have liked this year. He's had some injuries, but I think if he's healthy and he's playing all right, then Trevor Blevins is going to roll with the older guy. But James Venn has done nothing to lose that spot. So it's a great question, but to answer you, my hunch is Favreau, just because of experience.
Yeah. And it's not just those two teams. Humboldt has the same issue, right? Does Damon Cunningham make a little bit of a ploy against Jackson Fellner? Both have been playing very similar style of hockey. Weyburn might be in that same.
Yeah,
right?
Shep Oyster was unbelievable.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are kind of have a good 1-2 punch, and who's gonna take the reins come playoff?
I guess my answer would be it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely,
it's a good problem to have. Yeah. Now, speaking of Weyburn, you just mentioned them, but Jamie, I'll start with you because you've seen Weyburn recently. The Weyburn Red Wings up in Flin Flon dropped both those games. They've now lost 3 in a row. And Flin Flon, here's my little information here. Their magic number is 4 points. They can clinch the Sherwood division with 4 points. Now, that won't affect necessarily their playoff standings, but it's a nice little note. So I guess Weyburn and Flin Flon, let's go with those two teams. Jamie, what did you see this weekend from them?
Man, Mike Reagan, he's got to be absolutely thrilled right now without Jacob Vockler, Cole Dupereau, Jeremy Tremblay, Jaden Mercier, Centennial Cup veteran Cole Tanchuk, Egan. All these guys are out for Flin Flon, and they still found a way to beat Nipawin and Weyburn twice. And certainly, from the Weyburn perspective, I think they're still dealing with some injuries and illness of their own. So I think Cody Mapes is having a hard time finding continuity with his lineup. And as a result, they needed to rely a lot on Matt Shep-Oyster and Dazza Mitchell to kind of keep them in those games. And full credit, they were great. We talked just there about the fact that Weyburn has 2 goalies that they like, or maybe even 3 if you include Eric Kale in that conversation. But man, oh man, what an impressive thing. And I think back, and I actually spoke to Mike Reagan about this when Flin Flon was at Wilcox recently, about the addition of Zach Kane and the leadership that he brings and what he brings in terms of keeping that team together and keeping them focused. And 3 wins against Nipawin and 2 against Weyburn, 2 pretty hot teams coming into the week and getting contributions. We don't talk about this battle enough, boys. Thomas Wright versus Alexi Silvestri, maybe Riley Ash. Who's going to win the rookie scoring race? It's a real crazy battle right now too. So boy, oh boy, Mike Reagan's got to be thrilled to see his team get a couple wins with all those guys out of the lineup. Everybody's had injuries, but all of those guys at once, and they still find a way to win and win well. Got to be impressed.
Yeah, Flin Flon 8-2 in their last 10.
Yeah.
So kudos and shout out to everybody up in Flin Flon for a hot last 10 games. I mean, they're giving you guys a run for your money because, and not that you guys aren't doing anything wrong.
They're playing great.
But you were also the Humboldt Broncos are also 8-2 in their last 10 games. Let's go there now. Humboldt over the weekend. A couple of big matchups for them as well. So what did you see this weekend from Humboldt?
It was very much could be a playoff preview.
Yeah.
I'm sure both Humboldt fans and Nipawin fans would love the close proximity to travel and see their teams in, what could be a 7-game series.
And they both travel great, those fan bases.
100%.
Yeah.
3 out of the 4 games they played this season ended up in 1-goal differential. I am counting the game on Saturday that was 4-2. It was an empty net goal. It's a 1-goal game, basically, until the end, right? So it is a lot closer than maybe people would look at when they're just looking at the standings. From what I saw on Friday, I saw Jackson Fellner that stole a game. Broncos had 5 breakaways, 4 posts. Fellner played exceptionally well. And when you give a talented offense like Nipawin a chance to hang around in a game, you don't capitalize on your opportunities. They made the Broncos pay in the third period. 3 straight goals in pretty quick succession, and they're up 4-2. And now the Broncos are in the hole that they didn't expect to be in with the way they were playing, and they couldn't climb out of it. So it was a props on an advantageous Nipawin Hawks for picking up the 2 points at home. And then the Broncos, well, they've won 11 straight home games. So they went back to work at the Elgar Peterson Arena, controlled a lot of the pace. Mcgouran finally got his first point in his last 7 games, which is actually crazy to think about. A talented player like that was held off the score sheet for 7 straight games. But Ceccarelli now on an 11-game point streak. When you need a catalyst, you often look to Ethan Zilke. He had 3 points. And your leaders stepped up when the Broncos, when they needed an answer back and protect that undefeated home ice streak in the new year.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, to your point, Rory, you talked about that formula for Nipawin winning that, like, they did in Nipawin. I mean, when you face a Flin Flon or a Humboldt, you are going to be pelted with shots. I think that's part of the equation. So first thing you need is great goaltending, and they got that. The second thing you need is, discipline if you can stay out of the box, or kill those penalties, because if you can't kill penalties, then you're not going to win.
10 straight Bronco power plays the Nipawin Hawks killed over those 2 games.
So that's the formula for an upset. I always say you have 2 boxes to check if you're going to upset anybody: goaltending, special teams.
Right.
And if you check those boxes, then fair enough. And Nipawin, I'm for sure thrilled with a split there with Humboldt.
100%. I will say, from a player standpoint of the Nipawin Hawks, I know Xander Stewart got hurt in the first game, didn't return, didn't play in game 2. And then Mcgouran, after he scored his goal, got I believe he didn't return after scoring that goal. He took a hit from Connor Kasperi. So those are 2 big pieces. I don't know the longevity of how, to the extent those injuries are, but they need them back.
Yeah.
They're the captain and one of the best defensemen in the SJHL.
Yeah, for sure. To build on Nipawin's week, Alex Ochitwa had a great week. Alex Johnson had a great week.
Ochitwa has like 10 points in his last 4 games.
Absolutely.
And he's committed, right? So you see that with him. We've seen that with Benny Tkachuk. A couple guys this year got committed, the weight off their shoulders, and then they could just play free. I've liked Ochitwa since I got him, I'll be honest. He can fly.
He's good.
He's really good. Not big, not very strong, but he can fly, and he plays a hard game.
Yeah.
But you've seen that so often, right? Guys get committed, weight off their shoulders, especially older guys, and they play better. And kudos to Ochitwa stepping in. When you said Ratzlaff has been not as proficient, as prolific at scoring, Buckberger stepped up.
Johnson's been good all year.
Johnson's been good. Stewart's been good.
And that's kind of been one of their strengths all year, right? Is guys, in the forward group especially.
Alex Johnson might be one of the underrated players in the league that doesn't get enough credit. That guy, he's been doing it for a couple years now, and he leads the team in points quietly, it seems like. A lot of them are assists, but his vision and hockey IQ is really high up there.
I made a vote, right, when we were at the showcase about the snub.
Right.
He was one of the guys that almost, I think, almost pipped Cameron Herlicka. Herlicka ended up being there, but
so did he.
They were kind of
both went.
1-2, I think. And they ended both
they ended up both
which
going.
is fair. So the hockey gods worked it out as we thought.
It worked out. Also, shout out Carson Dobson, had a really good week, and he was our 1,000th Kids Sport goal scorer. So just wanted to give a quick shout out again to Carson Dobson. We did give him a shout out on Thursday's SJHL Insider. Can never give too many kudos for the Kids Sport Cup.
Yeah.
A little bit of a scenario here as well, and then we'll move on to our next team of focus. But the Nipawin Hawks can clinch a playoff spot as early as Wednesday night. If they win, now here's the scenario, if they win both Tuesday and Wednesday, and if Notre Dame loses in regulation to Weyburn on Tuesday night. So Nipawin is close to getting an X by their name.
So is 4 their magic number 2? Is that what that means or no?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm so bad with magic
So
numbers.
I don't understand.
That's Jeremy's thing. Jeremy loves the magic number, and I'm so confused by it. I love talking about them when I know what they are, but to figure out what it is, I'll leave it to Jeremy. But that's just a quick note on Nipawin. It could be a big week for the last couple of playoff spot clinching. But somebody who did clinch this weekend, and Jamie, I'll throw this to you, the Estevan Bruins clinched, they're currently in 6th, but they clinched a playoff spot. They didn't clinch 6th, but they clinched a playoff spot over the weekend with their win against Yorkton. Estevan's an interesting one. They've had some ups and downs this year, I guess, but what did you see, I guess, from Estevan this week, and what does this clinching, I guess, mean for them?
Well,
outside of making the playoffs.
I think we all. I definitely expected Estevan to find a way to get into the playoffs. Definitely this year, regardless. Just because of the roster they had more than anything. But Cody Davis being back and healthy is such a difference maker with his speed. They were very impressive in Melville. They ran all over the Millionaires. It was 7-1. It could have been worse than that. Let's be honest. And then Yorkton, Caleb Allen and Matt Hare just in general does a good job of coaching against the Estevan Bruins for some reason. It's always been a bit of a bugaboo team there for Estevan, but again they found a way. The combination of a healthy Cody Davis and a healthy Cade Runke could take this team a long way. They're two very experienced guys, know how to play. Their decor has become a lot more simple, a lot more sort of heavy, hard to play against guys with no Alex Blanchard obviously leaving months ago. But they're still not going to be any fun to play against, and I think that really ramps up a game like Wednesday, for example, in Humboldt and Flin Flon, because neither of those teams. I think probably if you were to ask either Scott Barney or Mike Reagan, they say we'll play whoever we play, and fair enough, but I think they want to avoid Estevan if they can.
No one likes going into Affinity Place, especially during playoff time. It's a hard building to win into, right? So,
and they've got a lot of guys who are experienced.
I think Flin Flon and Estevan, with that familiarity, they may want to wait for a second-round matchup or something like that to happen, not in the first round, because it's just a lot of travel. They already don't like each other. You're probably going to get a 6 or 7 game series, I would think, and that's hard in the first round to then know you still have to play 2 more rounds. It's a grueling series. So I also agree. And it's no knock on Nipawin or Weyburn. I just think with travel purposes and familiarity between those teams, you're trying to get away from that matchup in the first round, and that's what you do, or how you do that is by finishing second. So Wednesday's matchup, it's big.
There you go. Let's move to the team that's on top of the standings now, the Battleford's North Stars. Clinched first place this past weekend. Now they beat the Melville Millionaires 9-2 on Friday, and then the Notre Dame Hounds 6-2. I'm going to start with you, Rory, on this one. Jamie, I'll let you talk about the Hounds after this. But Rory, Battleford scores 15 goals in 2 games. Not that we're surprised by this. I mean, at this point of the season, and we'll get to maybe why some of this happened because of maybe our Players of the Week coming up in a little while. But man, do they ever stop impressing you?
No. 255 goals in 51 games played.
Well, there you go.
I know 15-2 is a higher average, but they've been averaging 5 goals a game for 51 games.
It's a good recipe.
It's absolutely insane. Yeah, you need to score 6 to beat them, and that's why they've only lost 4 in regulation. But no, they never stop impressing me. There's always, the Kean Bell factors. There's the Holden Doles. You're getting them as the 3 stars of the week almost every week now with what they're doing, but you can't argue against it. No. He had 22 points in the last 8 games. So how do you take away any nods for Kean Bell? But and then it's just someone else that steps up. If that line doesn't produce, which is rarely, then you get a Keaton Klein, a Bradley Blake, a Zane Florence. The list goes on and on. So you know what? Notre Dame, Nipawin, Weyburn, good luck. I mean, it's going to be really, really tough to beat them, and we know that. That's just saying how great the Battleford North Stars are. It's going to be really tough. Not impossible, but
And Jamie, speaking of Notre Dame, it's been an interesting couple weeks for Notre Dame. I mean, a couple of big wins, a couple of tough losses. I mean, what do you have for Notre Dame right now?
Yeah, you know what? Like, you look at this, the last 3 games. I mean, the job in Wilcox on Family Day was to beat Weyburn, and they did that. And then the weekend, the odds of, you never know, but Notre Dame going into Battleford, the way things are going, it's not a great bet. So the only thing that really the Hounds did wrong was not really show up in Kindersley, which really, really hurts. And, the mountain is still high for Notre Dame to sneak in. And again, it was another game at the Access Communications Center where the Hounds actually did not play badly at all. And you look at the score line and you say 6-2. Well, it looked like they got bull rushed, but they didn't.
It was 2-1 for a while.
It was 2-1 going into the third
that's
period.
right. Yeah.
And then 15 seconds in, like a perfect chip turns into a 2-on-1. Jake Southgate snipes, and then it's, game's kind of over. But like it's crazy that like the Hounds have been in so many games and then they fall asleep for 3 minutes and it punishes them. But I've talked about it on the show so many times. The Hounds in the last 15 games, I went back 15 games, guys. They've scored 2 or less goals in 12 of 15 games.
Not averaging the 5 goals as Battleford.
Right. Though they did score 6 against Battlefords and Wilcox earlier this year, but they gave up 9, so that didn't help.
Oh.
But my point, it's kind of tough to win games, right? If you're not scoring more than 2 goals. It sounds like basic math. And another element to all of it, and a big part of the reason why they're having trouble scoring is this Jared Sitch factor, and that I don't think he's been healthy when he's been in the lineup,
right? And
he hasn't really been in the lineup that much in the new year. And you talk about a defenseman, it's not just one guy, you need the whole team, I know, but the Hounds need him in the lineup to be successful, and he hasn't been. So I don't know how many more games the rest he'll play this year. He played a period against Kindersley and couldn't play the rest of the game, and that was his first game back in a while. So it's a tough ask. The Hounds have played well before this year without Sitch, but got to find a way to grease out at least 3 goals.
Well, I will say, I will put a glimmer of hope, because I'm not ruling the Notre Dame Hounds out. It's 9 points. It's a lot. They have, 9 games left? 8 games left, maybe? 8. The Notre Dame Hounds do. So 16 possible points out of 9. That's correct. But Weyburn is starting an 8-game road trip, or 7-game, I believe. Yeah. They just lost their first 3 of it. They have 4 or 5 more left. Yeah. They're going to have to find a way to win on the road. Their road record is not good. It's 7-16. So if Notre Dame can, like you said, scrape by a couple more goals, pick up a couple points here in this next stretch, and Weyburn continue these road woes, well, now you're closing into a 4-point gap. So there is hope for the Notre Dame Hounds. It's not over yet. It is hard, though. It's a high hurdle.
2 things, like Jamie earlier, you mentioned what's it take for an underdog to win goaltending and special teams. One for Notre Dame would be a healthy Jared Sitch. That's one of their check boxes. But for Notre Dame's sake, I will say Nipawin in their last 10, 2-5-3. And Weyburn's lost their last 3, as Rory just mentioned. Yeah. So, the light is not out at the end of the tunnel for Notre Dame at the moment.
No. I will say, Clark, I know we're going to have to go to Leith Olafson, but Kindersley Clippers, both wins at home. I don't want to leave out the segment.
No, I was just going to mention them. So great. Okay. No, perfect.
I didn't know how we were for time.
No, go for it. We got
But Tyler Traptow, obviously shout out to Ken Plaquin with the job. He did in Kindersley, a great guy every time we talk to him. But Tyler Traptow is going to get a chance here. Not a lot of games to really prove what he's got as the interim coach, a former player not that long ago of Kindersley, and 2-1 in his first 3 games. And Kindersley's no longer in the basement. They're now
they have moved up.
And there haven't been that many better players in the SJHL over the last 15 games than Logan Linklater.
And Tylen Hilbig too.
But I mean, they're
both
a
those
dynamic
guys.
duo together, right? I talked to Logan about it. He's like, I pass him the puck, he scores it. It's a good relationship.
Great formula.
But Logan is just magical. And if maybe it didn't work out with him in the Pats earlier this year, and it took him some time to get going when he came back, because he just didn't play many games all year long.
Yeah.
But he's been unstoppable, especially at the West Central Event Center this year, and kudos to him.
And I had a feeling he would when he came back. I said that guy right there is going to do well in this league. He's just built for it. He's one of those players that you can just tell, like he's built for the league, and he's doing well. And I just wanted to say, Kindersley Clippers in their last 10 games have more wins than 5 other teams in the SJHL. So, like I said, I kind of jokingly said they're on a heater, but they actually they're legitimately playing well.
And
they have been.
Well, if they weren't so bad on the road.
They're above 500.
It just hasn't worked out
their
way.
Playoff team if they weren't so bad on the road.
Exactly.
And Logan Linklater as well. Didn't he have quite the highlight reel goal as well?
In the industry, they call this a segue. So thank you for that, Rory. Before we hit the break, let's have a quick look at the Tourism Saskatchewan highlight of the week, courtesy of Kindersley Clippers forward Logan Linklater. And this is a special shout out to marketing. What does Connor Tate do? Everything. Connor Tate does a little bit of everything. Genius. Let's call him Clippers genius Connor Tate. And the call by Chris Omnis. Let's have a look at the play here.
All right, so now down to Linklater, wide open, and he's a leg, and he scores!
You you can see the players going, "Oh my God!" as they skate over.
It's like, what did he do?
You can't give a guy like that much space and the creativity and time he had to make that move. That was a beauty.
And I'm pretty sure Chris Omnis didn't even see it coming, because I think the 4 words between Linklater and he scores were blah blah blah.
He was shocked.
Yeah, it was. I think everybody was a little bit breathtaking with that one. That was a great play by Logan Linklater, and shout out again to our friends at Tourism Saskatchewan for sponsoring the highlight of the week each and every week. We're going to go to a break now, and on the other side of the break will be Melfort Mustangs defenseman Leth Olafson. You're watching SJHL Weekly on all the social media platforms from the SJHL.
Get red and ready with Case IH and Young's equipment. From Case IH combines to MacDon headers, Young's carries all the best in new or pre-owned harvest equipment. With field-ready, industry-leading equipment and highly dedicated service staff, we're here when you need us most. Come experience our award-winning service for yourself and visit youngs.ca to find your nearest Young's equipment location.
For victims of domestic abuse, fleeing may mean leaving everything behind. There is hope. SaskTel provides brand new cell phones so that starting over is possible. Learn more at sastel.com/fresh start.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Give me more. Yeah. Give me more. You got that thing that I'm looking for. Yeah, give me more.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100. But there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
All right, welcome back to SJHL Weekly. I am Clark Munroe, filling in for the wonderful, the studious Jeremy Corrigan this week here for episode 22. And we're going to be joined now by our special guest today. That is assistant captain of the Melfort Mustangs, Leth Olafson. Welcome to the show, Leith. Thanks for joining us today. First of all, before we get too deep into the interview, 5 points in your last 4 games. You had a split in the home and home with L'Orange this weekend. Can you explain the intensity of every game right now for you guys, because every game seems like it's just such a battle?
Oh, for sure. The last few games have been playoff atmosphere already, so it's fun. Like, especially this last weekend with L'Orange, it was a good weekend.
Hey, Leith, did you guys go into these games? I mean, back at home and home with the team, you're kind of looking like an 85% chance you're going to play in the playoffs. Did you go into this weekend as a measuring stick, like, hey, let's play some playoff-style hockey because we might be going up against these guys in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think that was our mindset going into the weekend. We were looking at the standings a little bit, although you don't really want to do that too much, but we know what we're coming up against. So I think going into this weekend, we were looking at it as we're going to be playing these guys a few more times, so kind of get used to it.
Does the L'Orange Ice Wolves excite you and your teammates as a potential first-round matchup?
I don't know about the rest of us, but I'm excited for it. I like playing up in that rink. It's tight and lots of hitting, so kind of plays more into my game, so I like it.
Yeah, for sure, Leith. Really appreciate your time. I want to take you back a little bit, just to talk about your roots. I love to be the guy that asks about about the guy's roots. So, a lot of guys, I guess, out here in Saskatchewan especially, and even Alberta, take that step to play U18 before they jump into junior, but you kind of decided not to. You went from, U15 straight to junior, and I guess maybe that's more common maybe in BC and Ontario than maybe in the middle provinces. But just talk about, that jump and sort of how you feel like you've progressed, given that you kind of didn't not bother, but, you didn't go with the AAA U18 route.
Yeah. Well, back home, like where I'm from, there wasn't much AAA or junior A there, so it was kind of junior B is the top league there. So I think going into my 16-year-old year, I looked at it as what's my best option for myself, and playing junior B was probably the best for me. And then from there, I developed pretty well there, and then ended up over here through some people I know, and I think it was good for me to come over here.
Hey, Leith, the last couple of weeks, me and Nugsy have been talking about when the Melfort Mustangs are on their game, right? When they are playing Melfort Mustang style hockey, they're, if not the hardest, one of the hardest teams to beat. But we've also talked about how this season has kind of had some ebbs and flows, right? Some games not as good as others. When you're playing Melfort Mustangs hockey, what are those things that you're grabbing attention to, that you're really succeeding at, that makes you guys one of the hardest to play against?
I think our defensive play is probably our strongest suit. We focus on being stingy defensively and just try not to let any shots through in the middle. And then, just being a physical team that's hard to play against.
Yeah, for sure. And a big part of that, and one of the things that I've talked about when I've noticed the Mustangs this year, is when you're going well, and especially your D-core, you talk about you talk about Tuba, you talk about Minnock, you talk about Holian, go down the list, Thornton, keep going. It's a veritable array of talented players back there. What's that line like that Trevor Blevins is trying to get you guys to understand between, that aggressiveness, that being that fourth guy in to score that goal that you guys love, obviously, because there's huge points back there, and also playing that Melfort Mustangs hockey, being stingy?
I think when we're playing hard offensively, our opponents shouldn't really be getting too many chances in our D zone. So I think with us being up in the rush and up in the O zone there, we can kind of keep them away from our net that way. But once we get back in the D zone, we're focused on being hard and not letting anything through.
So, Leith, we talk a lot, obviously Jamie just mentioned it, but the defensive group that you guys have, and it was kind of highlighted by 4 of you guys on the same team at the SJHL MJHL Showcase. I guess 2 things. 1, what was that experience like for you, just being at the showcase, I guess, in general? And then 2, what was it like, basically your entire blue line as your team's blue line? What was that like for you?
Oh, it was fun. That's the first event like that I've ever been to, so I was just taking it all in and getting the experience, which was fun, and then playing with pretty much my whole half my team there. It was good, and then getting to play with some other guys there was fun too. But it wasn't too much from the different because I was playing with my normal D partner, Leith Olafson, the whole time, so it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Leith, last one for me. Really appreciate your time. I'm sure there's no stretch to say that last year's postseason was disappointing from a Melfort Mustangs perspective, and I think you guys had high hopes last year and being a 3rd seed and whatever. And again, I'm sure the hopes are super high again this year. What are the details? What are the things that Trevor Blevins and his staff have said to you personally and to the team that say this year needs to be different? What are those things in order for you guys to actually make the run that you actually believe you can make this year?
I think just our physical play and just being hard on every shift, the whole game, being able to play hard and stay focused and not give up these little lapses, and that most teams, like last year against Yorkton, that they scored on a lot of our mental lapses.
Hey, Leith, I'm not sure if you've ever seen the show where we do guests. We like to wrap it up now with a part called Rory's Rapid Fire. So I got a handful of questions for you, all right? They're going to come at you quick. Just fire them right back at me, all right?
All right.
Here we go. Skydiving, yes or no?
Oh, wow. That's a new one.
Yes. Yeah.
You would do it. Obviously, Olafson, Leth Olson, a lot of Viking roots in that name, in your ancestry. Are you going to be a sea Viking, on the high seas, or are you a land Viking where you just pillage the villages?
I think I'd be a land Viking. I don't like the ocean too much.
Land Viking it is. All right.
The creativity this week, Rory. Well done. Good start.
Village. It rhymed, too.
WWE Royal Rumble. Oh. Who's winning on the Melfort Mustangs?
Oh, Wyatt Cook.
Oh.
Wyatt Cook's taking it down.
Okay.
Okay. As a hockey player, if you could have one superpower on the ice, what would it be?
Being able to put the puck in the net whenever I want. I don't know if that's a superpower, but that'd be nice.
All right, favorite Disney princess.
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, good pick. And now I asked Riley Morgan this same one, so I'll wrap it up because, we're all buddies across this league when it comes to broadcasters. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much grief are you giving Matty Barrett up there in Melfort on the road trips and whatnot?
Too much. I don't know if you can hear him in the back.
Yeah, we can.
Hear him in the back. I'm in his office right now doing this. So, yeah, we don't give him enough. He's soft.
Hey,
hi, Matt.
I've seen Blevins give Matty a real hard time. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
There he
is. Hi, Matt. Well, thanks, Leith. I'll leave you with this. I mean, we're already at the point now, if you can believe it, 5 games left in the season. Wednesday kicks off the last 5 for you guys. Down the stretch, you see, a couple of really solid teams. Obviously, you're kicking it off with Kindersley, who we were talking about earlier. They're kind of hot lately. Larange, Nipawin, Flin Flon, and Nipawin again. What do you guys have to do in these last 5 games to just get yourselves ready for the playoffs?
I think we just got to treat every game like it's playoffs already. Like, get ready for it by just being in the moment. Be ready for playoffs by playing like it's playoffs pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, say hi once again to Matt Barrett for us. Hi, Matt. And Lee, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck the rest of the way.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, that of course was assistant captain Leith Erickson. Now you got me saying it. Leith Olafson. I said Leith Olafson.
Leith was the captain. Erickson was the captain.
Well, there
of the
you go.
ship.
Yeah, he was a water Viking.
Yeah,
you got me.
He was a water Viking.
You guys heard me say it during the commercial break. Leith Olafson. I said it like 10 times, and I got tripped up right at the end. Anyways, Melfort Mustangs assistant captain Leith Olafson joins us. Thank you again, Leith, and hi again to Matt. But we're going to
loves his screen time.
Oh yeah. We're going to hit another commercial break here. You're watching SJHL Weekly on all the SJHL social media platforms.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
You wouldn't take the ice without protective wear. So why would you take to the job site that way? The SCSA is proud to partner with the SJHL.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel, because we're everywhere, keeping you connected to your family and friends, to your history and culture, to those traditions that make us who we are. SaskTel cares, always has, always will, because we're dedicated to our home.
All right, welcome back to episode 22 of SJHL Weekly. I'm producer Clark Munroe, sitting in for Jeremy Corrigan again. And we missed something earlier, and I forgot. We're going to have a look at the SJHL standings and maybe some playoff matchups that we may be seeing. Before we do that, though, sorry for throwing a wrench, because I just said we're going to do it, and then we're not. So sorry for the control room. But you can get your tickets now. You just saw the commercial in the commercial break. SJHLraffle.ca. It is happening right now. The ticket sales are underway. They're flying off the shelves. These guys have been pumping it in their communities and around the league. Actually, all the teams are doing a great job. Thank you, all the teams, for helping pump the SJHL raffle. It goes to a great cause. It helps the entire league. So what can you say wrong about that? You're helping the league grow, and tickets are available now. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, 10 for $100. Get that value deal. Get the 10.
My mom was just out visiting, and I got her some tickets, but she lives in Manitoba. So, I bought
who's going to drive it, Rory?
Well, I'm going to have a little fun with it, but if she wins it, then, it might have to go even across provincial side by side. So
and you can drive
everyone's
that
getting
thing
in on this. So
you can drive that
too.
thing all over the place.
That's right.
I mean, Jamie, it'd be really fun for you to rip out to Wilcox in that thing, especially when the weather nicens up a little bit.
Absolutely. That'd be unreal.
Yeah.
The grid roads, they're just
Exactly. Yeah, you could whip around pretty good. So get your tickets, sjhlraffle.ca right now. The draw will be made on April 23rd, and we'll announce the winner live on SJHL Insider on Thursday, April 27th. So looking forward to all that. But now as we move on to the rest of the show, we have a few things left. Let's start with the standings as of this moment in time. The SJHL standings, there they are. We got the X's and Y's on there for this week's edition. And I thought it would be fun to just look at, I guess, two scenarios here. We'll look at the playoff matchups, and then we'll say afterwards, is this going to be the 8 teams that get in, and are these going to be the matchups that we'll see? So let's start with the matchups. As of right now, of course, I have to put the disclaimer on. As of right now, the Battlefords North Stars will be playing the Weyburn Red Wings. The Humboldt Broncos will be playing the Nipawin Hawks. We kind of talked about that scenario because they just played each other. Flin Flon will be playing Estevan, and that's just, everyone's salivating over that potential matchup. And Larange and Melfort, everyone's salivating over that potential matchup. So, again, hypothetically, as of right now, as we sit today, what do you guys think about these matchups? And I guess I'll start with Jamie. Let's go Battlefords Weyburn. I mean, what do you have to say about that one? Because it's one of the hottest teams in the last few weeks. Yeah. And then the Battlefords North Stars. See what I did there?
Well, I mean, Battlefords has been the hottest team in Canada pretty much.
Oh, right.
Brooks, maybe. Well, look, you know what? I'll say this about Weyburn. If they stay out of the penalty box, then they can really make games interesting. They have had a very hard time staying out of the penalty box.
The most penalized team in the league, if you will.
I think 4th or 5th time shorthanded, but they need to find a way to live on that edge. Cody Mapes is a very intense guy. His team needs to stay out of the box, because if they don't, Southgate, Dole, and Bell will have a feast, and it'll be a sweep. But that's probably the good money anyways. But, I'll be honest, this Weyburn team does play hard. They do play well, especially in their rink. I do really see them giving people trouble in their rink, especially if they're healthy. So it'll at least be physical. That's all I'll say.
We'll say this about the Weyburn Red Wings. Yes, they aren't the time shorthanded is what you look at. They're not the most in the league, but they do have the biggest discrepancy in the league between power play opportunities and time shorthanded. They're about minus 50, minus 58 more time shorthanded than they have power plays. And you go to Battlefords with that kind of recipe, no. Sweep. Yeah.
That's going to be tough. Yeah. Tough. Let's go to the next matchup, Humboldt-Nipawin. Rory, I'll throw this your way. Humboldt-Nipawin, we just saw them twice. You talked about it earlier in the show. What would you like to see in that matchup if that happens?
I'd love to see it, right?
Well, I mean, I guess
for geographical logistics.
You have a little bit of bias, so I guess not what would you like to see, but of the series itself, I guess, what would you like to see?
I mean, first off, as a whole, don't all the series kind of make sense right now? Humboldt and Nipawin, they are rivals. They're not in the same division. They are rivals when they play. Just like Melfort. They're the closest opponents to them, right? They are rivals. Larange and Melfort, we see how well they play against their divisional rivals coming together. Flin Flon and Estevan were in the finals last year. It's the best rivalry in the SJHL. The only anomaly there is Battlefords and Weyburn. They're not really geographically close. They're not in the same, but 3 out of 4, I'll take it. And we just saw how great those games were between Humboldt and Nipawin. So I'm really hoping things stay this way. I think it gives salivating matchups across all 4 in the SJHL playoffs.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say about Nipawin and Humboldt too is both of those teams can really skate. I love teams that can skate. I love watching 2 teams that can both skate pretty equally. I'd say probably Humboldt has more talent and more depth. That's why they're 2nd or 3rd in the league and Nipawin 7th. But Nipawin will not be intimidated, especially in their rink, and they can fly. So that'll be a lot of fun, just from a hockey watching perspective.
And we said if one of the goaltenders steal a couple games, Nipawin becomes a dangerous opponent.
I was going to throw that out there. Out of all the series, that one seems like if one of the 4 goalies that we mentioned earlier gets hot, that could be the difference in that series.
I would agree.
No offense to either team. I'm just saying if one goalie gets hot, that could be the difference right there. Let's move on to Flin Flon Estevan. I mean, again,
what needs to be said?
Come on. Couldn't have scripted it better at the beginning of the year if that ends up being what it is. So I guess who survives that series?
Well, the one thing, sorry, Jamie, I really hope that both teams are healthy when the playoffs start.
For sure.
You mentioned the injuries that Flin Flon had. Estevan's getting their guys back now. They're close. Miley's back. Runkey's back, right? I just really hope that it's a full, stable.
Heard
in
Lick
that
has been
matchup.
dealing with a couple things here and there, so you hope he's healthy too.
That would be a physical series.
Oh my God!
Take a lot, like out of the teams.
Oh yeah, and they're both huge.
Yeah.
Like they're both huge teams. First of all,
They don't like each other.
They don't like each other. I don't think the coaches like each other. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not. But like, also the presidents won't be happy because they have to figure out the budgets for traveling up and down. But it'll be grumpy. It'll be belligerent. It'll be full of storylines. And the Alex von Sprecken element, that's going to be fun. The former Estevan Bruin playing for Flin Flon, and just huge guys on both teams. It'll be real interesting either way. Again, hey, you know what? Cam Herdlicka versus Harmon Laser-Hume. That's a spicy goalie matchup too.
It's awesome. Next time we have a goalie on and you do Rory's rapid fire, or a coach, I should say, with on Rory's rapid fire, the Royal Rumble question
among the coaches. That's a good one. We'll save it. We'll save it. Who's for our Saskatchewan Construction Coaches Talks, right?
Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. Thank you guys. And of course, we've already talked about this one, so we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. But Larange Melfort, I mean, again, just a great matchup. And we heard from Leith said he loves playing up there. They just had 2 intense games this weekend. I mean, is this the best series?
7-game series is all I'm going to say. 7-game series.
Right.
100%.
And to add to that point, Rory, if you're Melfort or you're Larange, get home ice advantage.
It's close right now,
seriously,
man.
That could be, I think it's going to go 7, and whoever has home ice in 7 has a huge edge. 1 point separates right now.
1 point separates.
Melfort,
Larange got 3 games left. Melfort, as we mentioned on the interview there with Leith, has 5. And both have very not easy schedules either going forward. Larange, I think, plays Melfort again and then Flin Flon twice. And we mentioned Melfort's schedule going forward. So keep your eye on it. It's going to be a good one. Let's move on now to the next portion of the show, which will be the Players of the Week. And if you look as of 5 minutes ago on SJHL.ca, the article is up. So if you've looked already, no surprise to you. But if you haven't, we got you covered. Let's start with the SGEU MVP of the week. And of course, I mean, I think, Rory, you mentioned the words earlier. How do you not pick this guy? I mean, you can't. Kean Bell of the Battlefords North Stars, 7 goals, 6 assists in 3 games this past week. Jamie, I'll start with you. I mean, Jesus.
I mean, I saw
13 points in 3 games.
Jeez.
I saw a statistic too that said about 27% of his goals have come against Yorkton this year. So Matt Hare and Caleb Allen and them are going to see Kean Bell in their nightmares, I guess, as we all are. But he scored 5 against Yorkton, and I thought maybe he would. And he had a breakaway with 15 seconds left
had the double
for
hat
the
trick.
6th. Almost had the double hat trick, and then he scored a goal each against Melville to get the 50, and then 51 on a beautiful feed from Holden Dole against Notre Dame. And boy, oh boy, when that guy gets a chance, he scores. And last thing I'll say is his dad, Rob Bell, I was talking to him, and he laughed. We laughed a little bit because he said he had a breakaway with 15 seconds left. And he's like, I don't think any goalie in this league has stopped Kean on a breakaway this year. So he's like, well, I guess there's 50. I'm not going to be there. That's too bad. And then he missed. So then he's like, okay, I'll get a flight out and watch the Melville Notre Dame games. And so that was Caleb Allen allowed Kean Bell to see his dad this weekend.
There you go.
Tyson Smith.
That was okay. There you go. The SaskTel goalie of the week. We just talked about him. Bruins goaltender Cam Herdlicka. 2 wins this week. 150 goals against average and a .956 save percentage. Rory, Cam Herdlicka, good goalie.
A very, very good goalie. You look, if you go onto the stats page of the goaltenders, there isn't a single category that you can pull up that Cam Herdlicka isn't in the top 5 of it. And it includes wins, it includes losses, it includes minutes, it includes saves, it includes shutouts, it includes shootout percentage. Every single category, Cam Herdlicka is among the top 5. Yeah, so
top 5 best beard.
He's a workhorse. He's a workhorse goaltender, right, in the SJHL. He's really, Estevan, I think, plays differently when he's in the net, right? It's kind of an MVP of a team, similar to a Race Ramsey with the Broncos last year. It's a Cameron Licka with Estevan this year. They're going to need him to roll in the playoffs, and I have no doubt that he can. He's spectacular.
And the only guy with more minutes than Cam Herdlicka in the SJHL, Harmon Laser-Hume,
who he might play against.
Workhorses is a good descriptive word. Now, again, I forgot to mention this. Kean Bell, his 4th time as MVP of the week.
Yeah.
And Cam Herdlicka now his 3rd time as goalie of the week.
Well, there were so many good performances, too, right across the league. But you look at it, you're like, well, I don't even think they matter. Like 13 points in 3 games is just ridiculous.
I was joking that we should just give all 4 awards to Kean
Bell.
That's right.
Goalie, defenseman, rookie. Just give them all.
Speaking of defenseman, this is his 3rd time now this season winning Defenseman of the Week. We're going back to Battlefords. The Super U Defenseman of the Week, Tynan Ewart. Again, when he won his first one, we were like, how is this his first one? And now he's won 3 since in a very short span of time.
I think
in like the last month and a bit. So he's doing well. And again, Jamie, I'll throw it to you. You just saw him, Tynan Ewart. He's just driving offense for that team.
Yeah, he's got points in 4 straight games. He's got points in 11 of 13. I don't think there is a ton of top offense on that blue line for Battlefords outside of him. So he's got a big role to generate offense from the back end for Battlefords. But that being said, he's awesome. And I think it's hard to argue at this point, to me, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, that he's like the leader right now in D of the year in this league. I don't know who's been better really than Tynan. So
offensively, no one.
Yeah,
right?
But he's not in trouble defensively.
No, he's not. He's not. Yeah, they've allowed the fewest goals against as well. So
yeah, and when you talk about power play quarterbacks, he sits only behind Reese Richmond, Holden Dole, and Jaden Mercier for most power play assists this year. So pretty good. Rookie, pretty good. Direct West Rookie of the Week. Now, speaking of guys winning a bunch of awards in a short period of time, Alexi Silvestri of the Flin Flon Bombers wins his 2nd Rookie of the Week in the last 3, and he is, I'm just going to say it, pushing for Rookie of the Month. He's had a great month of February, and I think, does he have one game that they play? We'll look at that in a minute. I have the schedule available soon, but he has been playing great, and he's pushing his way directly into the conversation for, I think, even Rookie of the Year.
100%.
And so shout out to him and the Flin Flon Bombers for he's been playing a huge role for them. We talked about their injuries lately. Yeah. He's been stepping up big time. I guess who wants to take it? Rory. Alexi Silvestri, what do you have?
Well, the last 3 games when, Mercy has been out a lot longer, but you went through the laundry list that Mike Reagan's trying to put pieces in together. One piece that's never left where he's been and played how he's been playing is Alexi Silvestri.
He's right there.
And he has 5 points in those 3 games. So a really key credit to picking up 3 straight wins with all those players out. But he does have a 5-game point streak going right now with 7 points in his last 5. He is 100% pushing for Rookie of the Year. Earlier it was a Riley Ash, Karsten Cater kind of conversation. Then it changed. Dylan Ruptash is in there. Some goaltenders really sparkled. Caleb Allen early on. And now Alexei Silvestri. Thomas Wright has come out of nowhere. The Rookie of the Year, as Jamie mentioned, it is a interesting debate of who you think is going to win. He's right up there, though.
He is. I personally think that he has cemented himself in the conversation.
He's cemented. Yes.
Not that he wasn't even in it before, but I think recently it's even gotten more certain. So, Jamie, you have anything on that?
Yeah, just again, like you talk about this Flin Flon team, and year after year they rely on old guys, but he's not old.
No.
Mike Reagan's like, well, I could have this kid for a couple of years. So
that's pretty good.
Pretty good. So far, our conclusion for the players of the week are that they are all pretty good.
Deep insights.
We're really getting deep on this one. Just a quick recap. SGU MVP of the week, Kean Bell. SaskTel goalie of the week, Bruins goalie Cam Herdlicka. Super U defenseman of the week, North Stars defenseman Tynan Ewart. And rookie of the week for Direct West, Alexi Silvestri of the Flin Flon Bombers. Now, we have a little bit of a fun segment. We usually do like buy it or sell it in this one, or like some weird scenarios where we pick lines for showcases. Today, we're going to go into this one. And I actually love this one because I'm a big fan of trades. I love trades. I love talking about stats. I love talking about how trades could or could have impacted certain teams. So let's look at what could have been. I'm going to call it the dream trade scenario. And you guys each have a few of your own that you're going to come up with here. Now, I don't know exactly how you did this.
Within the SJHL.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yep.
Trades that did not happen that we wish would have happened at the trade deadline or sometime before then.
Perfect.
That's how
So,
it is.
Rory, we'll start with you. What's your number one?
Sure. I don't have them ranked or anything, but the first one I'll throw out is Kindersley Clippers. I think could have. Didn't have to permanently trade some of their pieces, but maybe a little bit of a loan deal that you often see for future considerations. Player comes back next year. I would have loved to see Tylen Hilbig, the Kindersley native, go to the Flin Flon Bombers. We saw how effective Drew Kuzma was last year with Flin Flon in front of the net. His physical presence, hard to take off the puck. Yes, I know Tylen Hilbig is not a centerman. Kuzma was. A little bit of a wrinkle there, but I can just imagine him being in front of the net when you have Duperreault, Mercier, Tremblay working the puck around, and no one can move Hilbig from in front, and it would just make that power play even more lethal. Kindersley gets a lot of assets back for that, and then Hilbig back next year once he's a 20-year-old, and Kindersley's really ready to make that push. But I would have really loved to see Hilbig cause some havoc in the Whitney for him.
And like crystal ball here, of course, you can't go back in time, but had they known Mercier's injury was going to be as tough as it was.
They did acquire Kane, but maybe they're a little more active.
You're right. But
yeah.
maybe that's another fill-in. Jamie, you got anything on that, or do you want to go to your first trade?
Yeah, I'll just go to my first trade because I think it's somewhat similar in the realm, because I'm going to talk about Kindersley as well. And again, I talked about him there a couple of minutes ago. Logan Linklater, unbelievable player, unbelievable human being too. I think he is a real winner at heart too. So I'm going to say again, the kind of thing where it could be a loner, Rory, too, perhaps, as an 03, where, I think Estevan could use a guy who's really crafty like that, can protect the puck, and like guys like Runke and Davis are very north-south, very straightforward. Linklater is a very outside-the-box creative, and I think, an Olivier Pouliot mold that Estevan used well last year.
Right.
I think Linklater would fit really nicely in Estevan, so I'm going to go with Logan Linklater to Estevan.
For sure. Rory?
I do have an Estevan one as well, but I'm going to save that one for last.
Okay.
So the one I'm going to do...
that's a tease for Estevan fans.
Right.
You have to stick around now.
You have to stick around. Nugsy, do not panic. It is a hypothetical trade. I know it's a soft spot for you to see him go, but it's Jared Sitch to the Humboldt Broncos.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I got my mind that I forgot that you said you were saving the Estevan one. I was like, okay.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
And don't worry, the Humboldt Broncos will take really good hypothetical care over this hypothetical Jared Sitch trade when he comes to Humboldt. Yes, very much so. But the Humboldt Broncos, we know they put a plethora of shots to the net. Second place in the league, just behind Flin Flon. They're also second place in the league in allowing the least shots against their own net to system. That's put them second place in the league overall. You add a puck-moving, puck-distributing, defensive responsible power play specialist who can get the shot through like Jared Sitch into a defense core that already has Cater, Barloggy, Weagle, upside of offense, Lacombe, Miles. I know I'm forgetting some. Chase Cook, Sorrell, defensive responsible guys. I think it is bolsts a defense core, and I'm sure Scott Barney would have loved to do it. Also, on the flip side for Notre Dame, I don't know anything, but I know he is a Mercyhurst commit. Is Jared Sitch ready for that jump next year? We'll find out, but Notre Dame, Humboldt's got a lot of draft capital, a lot of good young players, so maybe that works out in Notre Dame's favor coming back the other way. But Sitch just checks all the boxes for me on something that I think Humboldt would have really liked to have for a playoff push.
I think if I could throw out my hypothetical trade, it would be Jared Sitch to any team probably would have. No offense, and to Notre Dame too.
Yeah. We know he loves Notre Dame. We know he loves Notre Dame too. So I know he's probably happy finishing it out.
Jamie, number 2 for you?
Yeah, well, again, hopefully Jared Sitch is healthier for Humboldt in 2023, also in hypothetical land.
Yes, right.
But obviously you guys know I love him. Anyway, moving on. Again, up that again, a similar kind of vein. I'm not saying this guy is maybe as good as Jared Sitch, but not too far off. I think really underrated. I'm going to take Aiden Robson from the Melville Millionaires, 20-year-old.
Yep.
Not coming back obviously because he's 20. Great leader, physical guy, and he goes to Battlefords. Again, I think that D-Corps manages the puck very well, good positionally. They get it up to their forwards fast. I don't know if they love a gutter type of fight, trench warfare type thing in Battlefords. So Aiden Robson, 6'2", big guy, physical, strong, blocks a lot of shots. I think he would fit Braden Klamosko and Battlefords North Star super well. Leader as well there for Melville too. So I'm going to say they find a way to get some younger guys from Battlefords there to to Melville. Even one of those young D-men, like an Easton Rask or something like that, back to Melville, who's a great, promising young guy, but will get a bit more minutes in Melville. And Robson would be a great fit for a Battleford team that wants to go deep. And when you're deep, you need a trench guy like Robson.
Yeah, I think with Battlefords at the trade deadline, our big conversations were, do they mess with the chemistry or do they just roll with it? And they kind of went with the we'll roll with it
They
mentality.
got Isaac.
They did get Isaac, though, who's been playing great. He's putting up some points for sure. So that is a good conversation, though, because we all were wondering, are they going to bolster this even more? But here we are. Rory, number 3.
Yeah, final one. All right, Estevan Bruins fans, no more waiting along. But it was just one more tweak for the Melville Millionaires that actually didn't end up happening. If they did, I think it would signal, all right, we're rebuilding. But they acquired Jackson Martins and I think prospects and PDF for this Zach Kane that went back to Flin Flon, right?
Yeah.
My hypothetical trade, I would have liked to see them flip Martins to the Estevan Bruins for even more assets coming back in, right? And then you turn Kane into pretty much double what I would assume you got for him, which was still a good amount.
Yeah.
But you even get more because Estevan could use a guy like Jackson Martins. I think they have a lot of, physical presence, a Koner with some speed, right? You got Runke who isn't afraid to get in there, Pangura, Owen Barrow, right? Guys that, they throw their weight, they can't produce offense. Martins.
They've also got size too.
Yes, they have size. Martins is a finesse goal scorer and great playmaker that I think can suit in your second line or top line center role, and that's what you really look for down the middle when you're coming to the playoffs. I think he fits beautifully in Estevan. Yeah. I think Melville would have had more assets to bring in, and then we talk about Von Sprecken playing against his former team in the first round. Now you got Martins playing against Flin Flon, and I love that.
That'd be juicy.
What could have been? Jackson Martins, just again, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
And he's a 20-year-old that would get a playoff shot, right? So again, that scenario comes.
15 points in 16 games since joining Melville. Kid's good. Again, pretty good. Jamie, you got your last one?
Yeah, my last one. Again, near and dear to my heart. Will Dawson, he's an 03, so whether he's back next year or not, I guess I don't know. But I know Mike Reagan up in Flin Flon is a big fan of Will Dawson. You talked about Jackson Martins, and I think Will Dawson and Jackson Martins have a lot of similarities. Gritty two-way guys. Both of them can score. Both of them can kill penalties.
Don't take a lot on penalties either.
Don't take
very
penalties,
disciplined.
Very disciplined kids. Well, again, skilled but hard to play against type kids, first on pucks, heavy on pucks. And I think Will Dawson, just personality, but also just the way he plays would fit Mike Reagan and the Flin Flon Bombers absolutely perfectly. You think about maybe a Liam Bridger, a talented kid like that. Again, you got to give steak for steak in this world, and Liam Bridger and Will Dawson are both very good players. I think that would be a kind of nice 1-to-1 swap if Bridger would come back to Notre Dame, a Newfoundland kid. Notre Dame's had Newfoundland kids before, so again, that's what I thought there. And I know for a fact that Mike Reagan absolutely loves Will Dawson, so there you go.
And again, all hypothetical, but it's always fun to create some sort of dream scenarios. What if it did happen, right? So
yeah, very fun. I love those segments. I love talking about trades. And the only one I would say, and if I could add one in here. And again, this goes back to Estevan, and this has to do with the reacting to when they lost Alex Blanchard. If they could have added a defenseman, and I don't know if I'm going to say any specific names, but one guy who comes to mind is Nathan DeGraves from Kindersley. If they could have added a guy like that, because he kind of fits the mold of what Blanchard was, size-wise, everything. And I just, something just to fill in, not that they haven't been able to, because they've been playing quite well without a Blanchard, who was at the time, I think, leading the league in points by defenseman, or goals anyways, at the time. Anyways, just a little, that's what I would have done.
Call. He's also a physical, gritty kid.
Yeah, I think.
Well, Tyson Perkins, I'm sure Matt felt a lot of calls.
That's a good one, too. I think that Estevan would have enjoyed Nathan DeGraves on the ice. I know the people in Estevan, they would have enjoyed him. Anyways, let's look ahead here to the next couple of days, because there's a lot on the line here in the next couple of days. As we mentioned, a couple teams could clinch, a couple teams could fall out officially. So let's have a look at Tuesday's action. We got Kindersley in Nipawin. We talked about those teams at length today. Flin Flon is going to take on Yorkton in Yorkton, and then the big one. I think that's going to be the marquee of the night on Tuesday.
Has to be. I'm ready to say it's either Notre Dame wins or Goodnight Jim Kite.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
I mean, that's kind of a pivot game for sure.
Got it.
Wednesday night, there are also a couple of games as well. The marquee right at the top, Flin Flon versus Humboldt, the battle for second place.
Yeah, Humboldt has the tiebreaker right now in a row. So this is a huge game for Flin Flon if they want second place. They lose this one cleanly. Humboldt now has the tiebreaker by, I think, 3. They'll have a game in hand, and they'll be 2 points up. So that's not impossible, but it's a big game for Flin Flon for second place. Yeah,
and Humboldt and Flin Flon have played each other a bunch of times in the playoffs lately too. Yeah.
Oh boy,
there's some spice in that too. Flin Flon and everybody has a little spice, I feel like.
Yeah, and then just to wrap that, Kindersley is also going to be in Melfort taking on the Mustangs to kick off, like as we talked about with Leith earlier in the show. Their Mustangs' last 5 games of the season. If they win that one, of course, it puts them ahead of L'Orange. So there's a lot to watch this week. I don't know. Looking ahead to the week, guys, what's on your schedule? What's on your menu, I guess, for the rest of the week?
Yeah, I do usually try to go away from the team that I broadcast, but this week I can't. That second place matchup on Wednesday with Flin Flon is going to be unbelievable, and then it's Battleford's on the weekend.
Right.
So it could be the top 2 teams in the league. My week is going to be very entertaining with the Humboldt Broncos, and so I'm just going to stick with the team that I call for because those 3 games are great.
Yeah, I can't argue your bias on this one because it's not.
I do usually go somewhere else for what I'm looking for.
You're right.
I will. Not that I'm rooting against the Weyburn Red Wings, but I want my co-host to and the Notre Dame Hounds to feel like they're have a fighting shot for longer. I like when things go down to the wire, so I'm hoping that Notre Dame can maybe get a little bit closer to Weyburn, and then we have just a lot more storylines to talk about. It's more content, baby.
Yeah,
and that's
even
what I'll
more.
take. Yeah,
exactly. Jamie.
Well, I mean, again, like I find that L'Orange Melfort thing so compelling. Leith said it. We kind of feel like we're going to have a bunch more matchups against each other. So let's keep it going this weekend. Again, back at the Palace. L'Orange is back in Melfort again. So let's just keep the juice going. There was 18 power plays, I think, on Saturday in the Mel, 9 each. So it was not a friendly hockey game, and I hope it keeps getting more unfriendly. Less power plays maybe, but just keep being unfriendly, guys.
They could play each other 11 times in a 2.5 week span, pretty much.
I like that familiarity.
It's always funny when you match up against a team like for your last 1 or 2 games of the year, and then you play them because then it turns into like a 9-game series.
Oh yeah,
and you just hate each other by like game 4.
If it don't go 7, 6 at least, I would be shocked. I'd be shocked.
And an interesting element, wrinkle to throw into that too, is that they made a pretty interesting trade earlier this year. The Ty Evans, Trenton Curtis.
Yeah,
a little bit.
And Curtis turned into one of the better players on L'Orange.
Well, I think it worked out pretty well. I'd say probably worked out better for L'Orange overall. Evans can come back next year, but they're familiar for sure.
Well, there you go. Well, that's kind of a look at the week ahead. There's a lot of storylines going on, as I mentioned. If you can't make it to the rink, I said this on Thursday on SJHL Insider, but if you got something going on, change plans. Go to the rink. But if you can't, Hockey TV's got you covered. So make sure you head over to Hockey TV and get your subscription if you haven't gotten it already. Now would be a really good time, just saying, to get in there and get those games. You got to keep an eye on all this action because it's going to be wild.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks again to our sponsors, who are also pretty good. Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Cantera Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, SGEU, Direct West, Tourism Saskatchewan, SGI, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Young's Equipment. Thank you to all those guys and people, I should say, in general. I shouldn't say guys, but obviously a great group of sponsors keeping everything going in this league, and can't do anything without them. Thank you to my co-hosts. Thanks, gentlemen, for getting me through another episode of this show. Always good being out here with you guys. And until next time, this Thursday, Jeremy Corrigan should be back for SJHL Insider, so stay tuned. We will recap those busy Tuesday and Wednesday nights, and we'll keep you afloat on everything going on in the league going into another crazy weekend with a lot on the line. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Clark Munroe for IKS Media, and until next time, we'll see you at the games, and enjoy the games, everybody.